So we can then get started with the first presentation of the day, which is from me. So I'm gonna actually start sharing my screen right now. And I think everybody should be seeing my screen. Is that correct? Yeah.
Yep.
Awesome, guys. So as I mentioned, the goal today is to really focus on, what are the top strategies to make sure that we can maximize our ROAS in Q4. At the end of the day, that's where most of the revenue is done. But at the end of the day, if you make a lot of revenue, but there is no money into your pocket, as Carly is saying, like there is no point. Profits really has to be the focus. And a lot of the things I'm going to be mentioning today are going to be key to make sure that, you don't dilute all your money when it comes to PPC. So let me give you a quick introduction about myself in terms of so you know who I am in terms of which company I'm presenting on behalf. So I'm the founder and CEO of Ecomcy. And here at Ecomcy, we specialize on scaling brands on Amazon and Walmart and TikTok. We're a full service agency. We've been in the space for over 6 years now. We have a team of over 70 people, actively a team of essentially managing around 150 brands, and we do this globally. We do this actively across multiple marketplaces. So we are every single day seeing what works, what doesn't work, really understanding what are some of the mistakes that people are implementing in terms of execution. And a lot of the things we're going to be discussing today are essentially from that, like really making sure you don't implement those things so you can maximize your return on investment. Besides that, I welcome everybody to check my podcast called the E-commerce Lab, which actually I have a lot of people in there that share on a weekly basis, like a lot of wisdom when it comes to that. So feel free to check it out. And that's it. Now we can jump into the juice, which is the topic. So let me actually, I think, to make it easier for you guys, I'm just gonna share this because I'm scrolling down. So this is gonna make it easier for you guys. Cool. So let's start with the topic, which is what is the challenge in terms of what is happening with PPC, and how we're gonna navigate all this. Like the reality is, when it comes to PPC, one of the main issues is the rising CPCs. Like CPCs getting more and more expensive, which is why most people is not profitable right now in Amazon. And one of the things we're gonna be discovering today is how that can be counter attacked. Also understanding what are some of the algorithm shift in terms of how people using external traffic, Amazon Marketing Cloud, DSP, for example, that Andrew is also going to be talking today, and how we can then convert that into profitability, because that combined with the tariffs is definitely been having a very tough journey for all of us. So when it comes to why Q4 is important, right? At the end of the day, we always have this conversation with our clients, like, okay, why Q4 and not Q2 or Q3? The reality is that most of the revenue is concentrated on this period of the year because the intention towards the purchase is the highest. Because at the end of the day, most of the events that really drive sales and that impulse buy happen during this period. We're talking Black Friday, Cyber Monday, Christmas. So it's really a period where people is into the mode of shopping or gifting or buying things for themselves, right? That's why you need to make sure that you maximize that, because when the intention is the highest, that's when you can make the most revenue. But at the same time, that implies more competition. And today we're going to be talking how you can counter attack that competition with strategic things within your PPC, so you can be very intentional with every single penny that you invest within your campaigns. So the first thing I would say that is really one of the biggest, you know, things that you didn't need to be mindful is the structuring of your campaigns, right? I can't tell you how many times when I jump on accounts and I start looking around in terms of auditing and understanding, where are they dropping the ball? Most of the time, it comes down to how they're actually structuring, things such as the branded keywords. Like most of the time, you'll be surprised after you launching a brand on Amazon, especially 3, 6 months down the line, if you have done a good job on Amazon, especially off Amazon. Let's say you're doing things with influencer marketing and things like that, your branded keywords start to become essentially search terms. And if you did defend that, your competitor very easily with sponsored product campaigns, sponsored brand campaigns, or even sponsored display retargeting. Some of the people have engaged with your brand is gonna eat significantly into your market share. So you need to make sure you defend that. Competitor keywords, make sure that just as they can attack you, attack them back, attack a competitor brand terms. And the final one is generic. I would say some of the things that make most people miss in Q4 is they haven't done the homework to prepare for Q4 in terms of beyond the generic keywords. So make sure your top 5 to 10 keywords, you're very healthy organically, because if you're only going to depend from an advertising point of view, it's going to be very tough for you to essentially then consolidate your presence. And the way you do that is with exact and phrase, right? Exact and phrase is what is going to make sure that on those generic keywords, you keep showing consistently, specifically exact match, which then we're going to be talking more down the line in the presentation, how you can control that with placements. Now, when it comes to the strategic approach, and again, on this presentation, which is what I want to do, I'm showing you a lot of actions in terms of what you should be doing. So remember, this is recorded, so you don't have to memorize all this right now. You can always go back on the recording, but this is some of the things you should be doing in terms of on your account. The first thing is that from an exact match point of view, this mistake, guys, I keep seeing it in 2025. Like, I think is it's crazy that I keep seeing this in 2025. I keep going on accounts, I keep going on exact match campaigns, and I see people using 200, 300, 500, like crazy amount of keywords in a single campaign. And I can guarantee you, if you're doing that, go right now to your campaigns, order by spend, and you're going to see that only the top 5 to 10 to max top 20 keywords are spending money, because usually when you put more than that, the high search volume keywords are getting all the volume in terms of budget. You're not going to have enough money to test the other keywords, which is a missed opportunity. Imagine the other keywords you have in there, which could potentially be a good fit now, because they are on a keyword with on a campaign with a bunch of keywords, they're just getting diluted. So that's the first thing. The second thing is focusing too much on exact and not leveraging phrase. Remember, with phrase, at the end of the day, you can find what we call long-tail keywords, and if, the more specific you get, the lower the CPC gets, and also the more profitable you can get, and the easier it's going to be for you to rank in organically. So make sure your strategy is not heavily focused only on exact. The other thing is negation. I mean, this sounds basic, but you'll be surprised as well how many times this is overlooked. Like, not only negation from exact format, but specifically phrase negation. Why? Imagine you're selling a water bottle and your water bottle is red, right? And you only have the red color. You will negate the other colors regardless on that specific phrase match, because if people is looking specific for red, why is somebody typing yellow and your red showing, they might choose yours. So that's a clear example how negation could be very powerful. And then auto campaigns, and these you have to be very strategic. I would try to test always the 4 type of auto campaigns, ideally isolated by one at a time, so you will have 4 type of auto campaigns in terms of close match and all of that, all in isolation, because that at the end of the day can be a mine, a mine opportunity for you to find new keywords that you wouldn't find otherwise. So now here's where I start bringing AI into the mix. Like, we're using a lot AI internally, and when I say AI, it mainly comes down to the bidding and the day part and sort of things. Because what you're gonna find, especially when it comes to return on investment, a lot of times the reason why you also become unprofitable is that you're calculating or increasing your bids without taking consideration what is your margin in the first place. So you need to have certain, not necessarily AI. You can also do this manually, but it's very labor intensive. Calculating what are the bids that you can afford, and how you can proactively adjust that to stay within your profitability, and combining that with things such as departing, which is realistically the one that's going to impact your profitability the most. That's something that's going to allow you to really overrun your competition, because over time, and this happens every single time, you're going to find patterns. You're going to find people buy more in the morning, in the afternoon, in the evening. It depends on the type of product. But if you don't know this and you burn all your budget in the morning, when actually most of the people buy in the afternoon, it's a huge waste opportunity. And you need to make sure in Q4 that doesn't happen. The other thing I put a lot of emphasis when it comes to strategies is try to also focus a bit more on the lifetime value. This is specifically for pros that have to do with, for example, supplements or recurrent purchase behavior. If you focus only on ACOS and return on investment, especially during Q4, you may actually miss the main point of what Q4 could be beyond revenue, which is actually new to brand acquisition. In terms of these new to brand clients that are coming to you and you're acquiring, these are customers most likely going to buy again in February, in April. X, Y, and Z. So understand that sometimes your calculation of how Q4 could be used, it doesn't always has to be from a profitability point of view, but also from a customer acquisition point of view, which if you understand how many times they will buy from you in the future and you have that number, sometimes it makes sense to pay $50 for a client, even if the product costs $20, because you know they're going to buy on average 12 times from you. So make sure you leverage that. And another thing, I try to make a lot of leverage here, and I'm sure maybe Andrew is going to touch on that with DSP and everything, is with first party data. Like if you have first party data and you can leverage that with things such as Amazon Marketing Cloud DSP, the potential is also significant in terms of the reach. Now, when it comes to funnel and some of the quick things I wanted to touch as well when it comes to Q4, you also need to make sure you leverage all of it. Most of the people are only stuck in the conversion one, but try to also leverage a bit, specifically the consideration one, because if you're not leveraging sponsored brand, which is a huge thing I see, like people are not using a lot of video campaigns, which if I have to choose one, that's the one you should leverage out of sponsored brand. You're missing a lot of opportunity because especially with AI, so easy these days to make a video. Why wouldn't you give it a try, right? So try to leverage things beyond sponsored products and try to leverage things if you have the budget as well as sponsor display, because combining those extra placement not only can be cheaper, but also can be a loophole for you to enter into what the competition most likely is not doing because you're being complacent and only focusing on sponsored product campaign. Now, video, as I mentioned, one of the tips I can give you straight away in terms of how to maximize this with essentially ads, focus on the first 3 seconds, like things that will catch the attention. It could be breaking something, it could be a jump, it could be a sound. Like sometimes with video campaigns, it has completely shifted the panorama on a saturated category because we just cannot compete on price. We cannot compete on reviews, but I can compete in content. I'm pretty good at making sure people pay attention. And if they're not good at that, over time, I'm gonna eat into your market share. And videos not only show at the keyword level, with things such as sponsor display, you can now show this video even within the pro detailed pages of your competition and still into their traffic. So now, very briefly into other things you should be focusing. I mean, inventory, of course, is key. You need to make sure you have enough inventory in hand. Some of the things I will avoid in Q4, try to focus too much on selling as many units as possible on days such as Black Friday and Cyber Monday. Yeah, a lot of people did that mistake last week with Prime Day. They blew to a huge chunk of the inventory. Now they're making calculations. I'm not gonna have enough inventory to last until December or X, Y, and Z. So you need to make sure that focus is not only revenue, it's making sure two main things, like how do I last all Q4? How do I make sure I stay profitable? But also how do I make sure I'm gonna have some cash flow back to buy inventory for Q1? If your only goal is sell, 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 but you're not projecting for all those snowball effect elements that are gonna come into the mix, it's gonna be most likely a tough journey for you in Q1 when you need to order inventory or you need to get back and try. Um, Another thing here, in terms of tips, like I already briefly mentioned this, but I put them on the screen. Like I would say the ones that really uh, influence the most is the negation of keyword. Like put a lot of emphasis on that and make sure, especially right now in October before it's too late, remove any keyword that hasn't shown any historical performance or hasn't been consistent, because the goal right now is to focus on what in the last few months has shown results to you in terms of sales, in terms of conversion. Q4 is not a period for experimentation. Q4 is a period for doubling down on what has worked for you and make sure that allows you to essentially make the most out of this momentum you're going to get in Q4. And finally, like other things that you can implement is like external traffic and retargeting. Like DSP is something that you guys are going to be learning today from. I would say pay attention to that for sure, because a lot of people step into that. The barrier of entry has lower, so more people is doing it. And of course, things such as sponsor display, you should definitely be doing that. And if you can do external traffic, which we do with TikTok, Facebook, and Instagram, we're seeing that Amazon is having a good a kind of a reward system for that in terms of how to rank you. So if you're not doing that, or things, for example, in the US, such as Amazon creators, you definitely need to do that because people spend more attention, especially with things that have to do with UGC content. So that's something that should be part of your mix. Now, another thing I'm gonna add here is make sure, especially in Q4, if you have a lot of products and a lot of keywords and campaigns, you start exploring some kind of automation in terms of the bids, because what is gonna happen is that the fluctuation is so volatile. Like you're gonna see bids going so crazy from day to day, especially when it comes to the budget allocation that is very easy in 1 week to blow sort across a budget that it was meant to be used for a month, right? So you need to have very strict rules. So have a look at some of the tools out there. I wouldn't recommend you to fully automate with some of these tools because that's not the point here. It's saying you need to have some contingency that when you're sleeping, where you are aware, when you cannot be in front of the laptop, yeah, certain things that allow you to control those bits because that's what most people miss in Q4. And if you're doing manually, you're gonna miss definitely a lot of those opportunities. And here's some of the blueprint for you to take home. Like October is preparing everything I just mentioned, preparing the restructuring of the campaigns, make sure that if you're doing part of the funnel, such as consideration, that's put into the mix, and make sure that if you can bring some more external traffic into kind of the equation, like if you can do some things with influencers or Amazon creators or Instagram, Facebook, that's something that you can repurpose into November and December. And as you can see in the screen, the remainder of the year is all focusing in terms of doubling down on the key dates and making sure you can make the most of each of the seasonality effects that those are going to bring to your product. And here are some of the metrics. Like as I said, for most of you, of course, Rust and Taco is going to be the main decision making. But again, guys, at the end of the day, it comes down to the type of product that you're also working on. Like for some of you, this might not be the ones to focus on. It might be lifetime value, as I mentioned. For some of you, might be down to also inventory. Like the other metrics that you need to consider. It's not always down to those metrics. So make sure that you make a mix of them depending on your specific situation. So those are adapted to the life cycle of your type of brand. And here other kind of summary of those mistakes. Like as I mentioned, inventory, if you ask me, it's top three. If you do everything correctly from a PPC perspective, you miss on inventory. What's the point? So make sure you put a very good control on that. The negation and making sure you fully optimize your channel. And I will say the manual only approach. Manual only approach these days, guys, is gonna be a tough thing for you because so many competitors have become super savvy with AI, and while you're sleeping, they're gonna outrun you. So make sure you definitely spend some time, especially this one that you still have a bit of time left before the rush starts, so you can implement some of those contingency in place, which is something that even we at Ecomcy do. We make sure that everything that is done from a PPC perspective is not only manual, but it's always supervised by AI and a system that makes sure that from a KPI perspective, everything is checked 24/7. And here, no action plan for you to take home and make sure that this is implemented. Okay. And that's it, guys. Like I would say the main takeaway before I leave you guys with the next speakers of the day is that I would say is preparation, but more than preparation is adapting. Like I would say the biggest adaptation you need to take out of this is I would say the automation side of things. A lot of the things you mentioned in terms of exact phrase, branded keywords is something that it's always been a must, but AI it's always been optional in the past. But I would say with especially what happened last week with Prime, that I saw it live with all the brands that we have, you don't have some kind of automation in place and you combine that with the full journey I just described, especially with what I see happening in terms of competition, it's gonna be tough. So make sure that's your biggest takeaway. Try to implement some kind of AI or automation. If it's not done by you, at least work with a partner that can implement it on your behalf. So that's everything from me, guys. Thank you so much. Feel free, of course, to scan this QR code on the screen where if you want to talk more about how we can help you with some of these things, more than happy to have a call and we can make it happen. So now I will leave you with Andrew, which I know Andrew has also very interesting take on part of what I mentioned today, which is DSP. So I'm gonna leave you, Andrew, to start with your side of the presentation, and we go from there. Yeah, thank you, man.
Thank you, sir. Chenzo, really appreciate it. Obviously, everyone who's here as well, thank you for joining us. I see a lot of familiar names. Isaac, what's going on, buddy? Good to see you in here.
Mm.
A lot of familiar names. This is great. Super excited to talk to you guys about this. So this is something I talk about a lot. So today I'm going to be talking a little bit about Amazon DSP, but actually how to leverage everything that you're getting from Q4 and actually using it to build your website. And I know that that's a little bit different, but I'm going to kind of talk about why I find this to be extremely important, especially because of kind of the overall nature of Amazon. Before I get into that, obviously, I want to make sure that I tell you a little bit about myself so it doesn't sound like I'm just some random person giving you some insight. So my name is Andrew Maffetone. I'm the founder and CEO of Blue Tusker, as well as the host of the Ecom Show. But Blue Tusker is a full-service marketing company that works directly with e-commerce sellers, and we really focus on helping brands not only grow on Amazon, but also grow off Amazon and developing more omni-channel strategies that help them look at everything a little bit more holistically. And today, mainly, we're going to be talking about is how you can actually leverage Amazon data to grow your website. There's also a little bit of insight here into how you can leverage your off Amazon data to grow your Amazon business. So we're going to look at this in a little bit more of an omni-channel perspective. This is what we do all the time. This is all we focus on. We do a ton of omni-channel stuff to really help brands look at their e-commerce business a little bit more holistically. And so this is exactly what we focus on. And this year we were actually lucky enough where Amazon acknowledged that. So we were one of Amazon's agencies of the year, mainly through their Buy with Prime department, because we do a lot of work with them because of the different functionalities that they provide you that allow you to kind of build these more omni-channel strategies. It's very interesting that Amazon is now allowing you to they're giving you the tools to really help you grow your entire business, not just on Amazon. Theoretically, I believe it's because they know that they're getting a cut of fulfillment here and there, but that's neither here nor there. We'll come back to that. But this is kind of why we look at this, right? So these are something that you have to think about, especially as you're getting into Q4. Over the last 5 years, year over year, FBA fees have increased by 10%. CPCs have averaged an increase of 8%, which we all know during Q4 that gets way higher. And competition has averaged an increase of about 6%. Earlier this year, I actually was asked to do a relatively similar talk at Prosper, and they didn't tell me that I was going to be preaching to people basically about how you should diversify and not be so reliant on Amazon right next to Amazon's booth. And so one of the guys at Amazon actually came up to me after the show and told me that 73% of sales on Amazon US last year came from off-seas sellers. I don't know if he was really upset with his job or what, because that seems astronomically high to me. I don't know that I entirely believe that, but even he cut it in half. That's still obscene. Basically, what he told me was they either are completely overseas sellers, or they have an entity in the States, but they are still selling from overseas. So the problem is you're seeing these products come into the marketplace that are able to keep their price point extremely low, but all of Amazon's fees keep increasing. So your margins are just getting crushed. And so going after these really broad keywords and things like that can get more and more expensive, and it becomes more and more difficult. It is not the heyday of Amazon anymore. You have to really kind of get creative with how you're going to build your brand. And so that's where we started to look at like, okay, how can we find ways to not only be less reliant for the overall business on Amazon, but then also find ways to grow on Amazon. So there's ways that brands can combat this. The main thing is obviously not being so single channel focused. And I know what you're thinking, like, great, yeah, selling on other marketplaces and stuff like that. Like, I totally get it. It's not as easy as it sounds. That's very true. However, there have been many nightmare scenarios of people that just randomly get shut off of Amazon and it completely crushes you. In fact, I was one of those years ago during Q4. Amazon cut us off for 2 weeks and scared the crap out of me. So this is kind of why I focus on this. And so we're going to talk a little bit today about how you can actually leverage DSP to doing that. And so the way that you can do that now, the way Amazon actually allows you to do this is through Buy with Prime. So in January of 2023, they released this Buy with Prime functionality. You don't necessarily have to have an entire website. You can actually just create like a landing page through Shopify or something like that, or even on WordPress, whichever one you prefer, and leverage this functionality. So if you're not familiar with it, effectively what this is, it's just a button. Amazon gets all mad when I tell them it's just a button, but it's just a button. So it's just a button that goes underneath the add to cart option. It allows people to purchase directly on your website, but they get all the Prime benefits. So Amazon actually fulfills it for you, and they can get it in a couple days. It gives you the extra shipping and all that fun stuff. It's great actually during Q4, mainly around like Christmas, because as we all know, if you sell on your own website, you see like a week before Christmas sales start to kind of come down. But on Amazon, it's not until like a couple days before Christmas. This actually gives you all those extra days on your own website. Plus, you get to keep all the data, which is one of my favorite parts. Name, email address, all that fun stuff. So you get to keep everything. It's great for conversion rate improvements because everyone loves to see the Amazon branding and all that fun stuff. You also get to pull over all your reviews. How you would leverage this is there's a few different ways. So one of the ways that I like to leverage this is if you actually use a Google Tag Manager and be able to track everything that happens on this Buy with Prime functionality, and it integrates just like anything else does on Meta, Google, TikTok. So it tracks actual orders. So what this is doing is this is actually taking all of your Amazon audience and helping you segment them. That's a very interesting way to take that data and actually drive that traffic back to Amazon. During Q4, it can be fantastic if you're doing certain sales. It's great for product launches or if you're trying to sell through certain product. So it's a very interesting way to look at this. The big benefit, obviously, being the data is yours. The fees are way lower. So there's no FBA fee. It's like a 3% commission. And sometimes during Q4, I've heard they've been waiving it. And then they use like MCF fulfillment. So as long as your product is typically over like $20, $25, it almost always makes sense. And it's easy to track all the different conversions through the major ad platforms. And like I said, you kind of get those extra shopping days. But the big side of this, or well, I should say the downside of this before I get to the big element of it, Amazon's fees still exist. They're still charging you for something, as does Amazon. This does nothing for your Amazon listings, so there's no benefit to this. If you do it through Amazon, they have some really strict branding rules. So pros and cons with it. The big part, though, is when they finally incorporated DSP. So this was the part that I kind of really wanted to touch on today, because as soon as they announced this, I squealed like a little piggy. I was so excited. So we were at Accelerate. This was last year when they announced this, that now if you have Buy with Prime on your website, Amazon is now allowing you to drive traffic from Amazon back to your website. It is the first time that I've ever seen Amazon give you a real tool that actually helps you grow your brand off Amazon. And so one of the things that we talk about for this is the benefit of how this can work through DSP. So we're going to talk a little bit about the omni-channel functionalities here. The DSP side is obviously the big element here. So we're talking about making sure that brands have longevity going into 2026. Everyone looks at Q4 as like, yeah, this is when I'm going to make the most money. I always like to really look at it as well as like, this is when you're going to gain the most new customers. How can you make sure that they keep coming back to you in 2026 so that you basically can set yourself up for success in 2026? Think of it like a snowball effect. DSP, if you're not familiar with it, it's interesting. There's a lot of hype around it right now because now you can, or soon you can run ads on Netflix through DSP. There's a lot of things like that where it's really larger scale advertising through different streaming channels and things like that. And for a lot of brands, especially ones that are maybe bootstrapping or even just smaller brands, that sounds really cool, but it's not really realistic. And the issues with DSP is that attribution could be a little wonky. It's going to take a lot of credit for things that you think maybe it should or shouldn't. And so there's elements of it here where you kind of have to factor that in. That's where we say there's actually a way to use DSP with this data and keep it a lot more middle of funnel. So what we actually look at is brands that have, let's say someone just purchased with you on Amazon, you can actually now run DSP ads to them to incentivize them to come back to your website to subscribe with you. So now you can not only gain that data back, but you have projectable cash flow. Or maybe they buy something from you on Amazon, and now you know, hey, they're actually going to also have interest in this other product we have, so you can try to upsell them. You can also retarget people that visited your listing and didn't convert, send them back to your website. People that visited your competitor listings and didn't convert, send them back to your website. There's a great middle of funnel audience that's going to be more likely to convert on your own website that you can actually generate from Amazon. So it's an amazing way to use Amazon as more of a customer acquisition channel and use Amazon as a tool as opposed to making it the main focus of your entire business, because it can be extremely risky and it's obviously getting more and more expensive. This is kind of where you look at how you can do it in the other way too. So obviously, once you start to drive that traffic back to your website or to a landing page, whichever, you're now gaining all that data. And that's where, when you're going into 2026, this becomes very interesting, because now you have this audience list, you have these pixel audiences, you have all this different data where you can now take that traffic and direct it back to your Amazon business if that's the way that you want to go. There's pros and cons to that. Amazon has fees, your website in most cases doesn't. So there's pros and cons to it, but it's fantastic for product launches, because we all know you have that like 30 to 60 day some odd honeymoon period when you first launch a new product. And so you can actually now tell your audience, hey, I've got a new product on Amazon. Or if you're having issues with inventory and you need to sell through a bunch of stuff, do a sale on Amazon and drive that traffic straight to there. Maybe you're doing some type of event and you want to send them straight to Amazon. There's so many ways now that you can gather all this data and decipher who of your audience and your customer list is more likely to shop on Amazon. And then you can do with that data anything that you want, but it also allows you to look at your business in a lot more holistical manner. And so that's where building all this omni-channel strategy works really well. The DSP side is what I feel like finally put that final puzzle piece together, where there was always ways that you could drive traffic to Amazon using Amazon attribution links and things like that. But the problem is those don't speak back to your advertising channels. Now you have DSP that allows you to drive this traffic back to your website, so you can actually develop this more cyclical approach of using Amazon as a customer acquisition channel and using your website or your landing page or whichever you decide to use to really start to gather all of this customer data, which also makes your business that much more valuable. This is what we talk about all the time. We actually just finished this late last week. We developed an entire Amazon escape plan. So if you go to bluetusker.com/AEP, it will take you to download our Amazon escape plan, which is like a 30 or 40 page document on exactly how we suggest brands to start to diversify so they're not so reliant on Amazon. And if you do want to try Buy with Prime, because we won this year, I made them give us a deal. So they are now letting us give away $20,000 in Amazon DSP matching ad credits just to try this out. There is no fee. You just upload Buy with Prime, give it a test, and they'll match 20 grand for you to give it a shot. So if you have any interest in it, reach out to me and I can connect you with our rep over at Buy with Prime. But that was all I had for you today. Thank you so much. And Vincenzo, our amazing host, I will let you take back over from here.
Thank you, Andrew. Yeah, I think that's super, super interesting. So, I mean, guys, you cannot let that offer go. Definitely give it a try. I think, yeah, Viber Prime has definitely been a huge push. I think I mean, Amazon is definitely realizing that people is looking for options out of Amazon, and they just want to make sure that, if you're going to shop outside of Amazon, at least you use my logistics, so
Exactly.
very smart. Cool. Thank you, Andrew. Appreciate it.
Yeah.
Awesome. So next one, we have Fabrizio. How you doing, Fabrizio?
Okay, now I'm not muted anymore. I'm doing
Good.
great. Thank you. And I love
Welcome.
both presentations because it almost sounds like it's my speech going into my presentation. First, Andrew talking about multi-channel. Usually people say the future of retail is multi-channel. Is actually the present of retail is multi-channel. There's no reason why you have like Amazon sellers or Shopify merchants. It's all part of the same thing. And more, I see online brands migrating offline through wholesale brands wanting to sell on Amazon, Shopify websites, just because it's a mix. Each channel has its own own objective and own role in this puzzle. And then Vincenzo talking about how none of the advertising or pricing makes any sense if you don't have inventory, right? So that's what I'm going to talk about today. First, just to quickly talk about Flavor. I don't want anyone to read all of that, but I just got here because I'm going to send the presentation later. But we're an inventory planning platform. We have over 1,200 stores connected, 85,000 POs and TOs run through our platform every year. There's a bunch of capabilities here. The most important thing I want to say is that we're multi-channel, multi-warehouse, which has a lot of complexities. When you go to multi-channel, you start adding inventory complexities, and we integrate with every single platform. There's no customer of ours doing any manual input of any type of data inside of Fleaver. So that's another very important thing. In terms of value, it's very simple. You have the right product at the right place at the right time at the right quantity, you're going to make money. If any of those rights are wrong, you're probably going to lose money. There's no magic here. And if you see customers that have been with us for 1+ year, these are real numbers, it's not like a approximation. It's real numbers. 38% increase in sales because you are more in stock, 62% reduction in stockouts, 17% reduction in capital trapped in stock because of overstocks, and 88% less time spending forecasting. So that's the benefit of using Fleaver. And there's a bunch of people talking about us around there. Anyways, moving from Fleaver, talking about the presentation, I'm going to talk about syncing inventory with sales and ads to avoid costly stockouts and overstocking in Q4. So the first point that is very important is that everybody thinks that whenever you have a stockout or an overstock, that was due to an inventory mismanagement. And that's a complete that's wrong by definition, because when you are out of stock, you have two levers. You have the inventory lever and you have the sales lever. So you have a certain amount of stock and you sell a certain amount of products. And the reason of stock out is a mismatch between those two. You're selling more than you have, or you're having less than you want to sell. So being able to project what you want to sell as accurately as possible, understanding that any projection is going to be wrong by definition. And then after you project what you want to sell and you have that amount of stock available, you need to switch to the other lever, which is sales space. What is your price? What is your advertising campaign based on the inventory availability that you have? That is the secret of the brands. As I said, I've seen thousands of brands in Fleabr in the past 6 years since I founded the company. And the most successful ones are the ones that understand that there are those two levers and they have to play in sync, right? I wanted to show, quickly here. Let me just, okay. So hopefully you're seeing the system here, right? I don't, once more, I don't want to sell the system. I want to show what is behind the system and why it's important for you to talk about that. First, forecasting. So first, understanding that if you use sales velocity, please, move on from there. There's no sales velocity. That concept doesn't exist. The only reason why people use sales velocity is because they use Excel spreadsheets, and Excel spreadsheets give them one cell that they have to put some value there. You cannot do on Excel spreadsheets a string of 720 days of projections and with variations. It just does not work for Excel. So people invented this concept of a sales velocity. Sales velocity means nothing. You're going to sell X units today, you're going to sell Y units tomorrow, you're going to sell Z units, 30 days from now. And knowing what are those sales with all the seasonality, cyclicality, all the variation, outliers, and anything that happens, it's extremely important. So that's the first thing. Second thing, I'm going to go to one product here so that I can show one use case. Second thing, you might be out of stock during a certain period. So the gray shade here shows the real sales during the period, and the orange shows what is the adjusted sales, what would have been the sale if you were not out of stock during that period. So understanding that you need to correct the past sales so that you can correctly forecast the future is also extremely important. Did you sell more because you had a promotion? You don't want to forecast that fake seasonality into the future because you might not have another promotion on that same day. And if you forecast that, the system is going to think that you are going to need that much, that quantity, and you're going to be overstocked, right? And same with stockouts. You were stocked out. If you project those zero sales into the future, you're going to be stocked out again because you're going to replenish less inventory than you should. So there's a bunch of things that you have to do, and it's a whole new presentation about best practices for forecasting. But being able to correct anomalies in the past and correctly project into the future, especially, if you have a more robust system where it can use AI models. We use AI transformer models, which are the most modern ones in the market, already connected to LLMs. So there's a bunch of things that can be done in terms of forecasting. Then after that, using that same product, being able to understand the consumption of inventory. This is how much you're going to consume from your inventory in each of your locations. And here it's another important step. You might have two channels or more consuming from the same location. Understanding that whenever you're projecting that consumption, you need to understand what is the consumption in both locations is extremely, extremely important. So for example, here, Amazon is purple in the bottom and Shopify is green. And Amazon does not consume anything from this inventory because it has inventory on FBA until this date here, January 18th, when it's going to run out of stock on FBA. So it's going to need to consume inventory that today is in this 3PL. So all of these things are very important for you to be able to adjust so that you calculate correctly. And then being able to understand when you're going to have stockouts. So you have here a product that has a certain amount on hand, and you have the next batch arriving on December 18th, but you're going to run out of stock here on December 6th, I'm sorry. So from the 6th through the 18th, you're going to be out of stock. And you have to be able to understand what that means. In this case, it's 8,299 units lost in sales, which at a $26 average price, that's $217,000 in losses. So understanding all of that, having visibility of all of that so that you can make decisions is extremely important. And then the most important thing, Fleabr is connected to Google Sheets, so we have our own Fleabr app, and you can export information to Google Sheets, and that's what I did here. I built a dashboard that shows me which products I need to change the sales space by increasing sales, increasing price, I'm sorry, or reducing advertising so that I survive the stock out. So in this case, I'm going to use the case of this product here, which is the best seller. So it has 52 days of stock. The replenishment takes 90 days. That's a lead time. So you're going to be for 38 days, you're going to be out of stock of this product. So the maximum sales that you can have per day is 196.8 sales on average per day, so that you survive until the end of the 90 days. So you have time to replenish the product, right? So, but today you're selling 364, you're projected to sell 364 in the next 30 days on average, and 1,474 in the next 90 days because of peak season. So you're in trouble. You need to reduce your sales a lot so that you'll survive that stock out. And as Vincenzo mentioned, stockouts, especially on Amazon, have a huge impact, and especially on peak season. We've had customers that had a 27% increase in sales in a year, in their first year using Fleabr, just because they were in stock for the first time during the peak season. And we've had customers that went out of stock during peak season, allowed for competitors to get in, and were never able to recover the same position they had before the stock out during that moment. And off of Amazon, it's also critical because you're giving sales to your competitors, and they might never come back to your website later. And as Andrew said, Vincenzo said, well, you're going to sell that product multiple times in history. So don't think that just losing that sales is fine. No, it's not. You're potentially losing a lot of sales into the future. So be always mindful of how many units you have in stock at any time. Whenever you don't have time to replenish anymore, use the sales lever. Adjust your sales space by reducing advertising campaigns, then increasing price. There are other things that you can do. You can, for example, understand sensitivity of the product to price and to sales based on how many units are sold organically versus how many units are sold through ads, and then use the price and advertising based on that. So there's a bunch of things you can do from there, but my message is just that. Be mindful of that in the peak season. And that's it. Thanks a lot.
Thank you, Fabrizio. Appreciate that. I specifically like the part where you make emphasis on, the potential revenue you're gonna miss by going out of stock. I think that's something that a lot of people don't make the emphasis, and especially with what happened, last week with Prime Day, and what is gonna happen most likely for a lot of people if you're not careful with Black Friday and Cyber Monday. You're gonna focus so much on getting rid of inventory, selling, but then that's most likely gonna be at a discounted price because you need to put a discount. But how that's gonna impact you in terms of cash flow and revenue you're gonna miss because you're gonna stock out. So it's a very good point, and I think you definitely guys need to project into that for Q4. So appreciate that, Fabrizio. Thank you. And just gonna mention for everybody that is right now with us at the webinar, please remember we're gonna do a Q&A session after the last two speakers for today. So make sure you drop all your questions below in the chat. Any questions that has to do specific to PPC, inventory, DSP, whatever you're struggling with. We just want to make sure that we can, give you as much value as possible so you can, start implementing after this webinar and make sure you can maximize the value out of all the content you're getting today. So awesome. So I believe next one we have in line, we have Arkady, right? Hi, then.
Well, hi guys, amazing content up until here. I hope to kind of deliver the same level, and I'm gonna talk about bundling strategies for Q4. So Q4 is a great opportunity to kind of sell a lot of your catalog, but the context of bundles is not just raising the AOV, it's customers right now are looking, or towards the holiday seasons, will be looking not for products, but a lot for gifts or for experiences. And I think that bundles, it's a great opportunity, not only to allow those customers to buy larger chunks of your inventory, but also to kind of complete the experience through through an assortment of your catalog. You know, the upside of virtual bundles is that there are no new SKUs. They're basically immediate to market, and you can use your existing catalog, your existing inventory to improve your average order value. You know, there are certain brands and certain categories where bundles truly uplift their order value, and that a big chunk of their orders are coming through bundles. So that's the holidays are a great opportunity to use bundles to sell more of your inventory. So what are those virtual bundles, and how do they work? So for those of you who are not aware or are not really familiar with virtual bundles are available for every brand with brand registry, and they allow a seller to group 2 to 5 items into a single new ASIN. There are a few limitations that I'm not going to go into all of them, but basically you need to have those items from the same brand. When Amazon will receive an order for that ASIN, they will pick and pack those components wherever they are, right? So sometimes those will be picked from different FBA fulfillment centers, which can cause an issue in the future that I'll address. But Amazon will pick and pack those items and ship them to the customer. Now, the benefits here are obviously that first of all, you're creating more SEO surface. So if your catalog is I don't know, 10 items deep, you can now create over 50 different bundles that eventually will start ranking on those important keywords and will drive traffic to your items and to your catalog. But not only that, you know, the perceived value as you know, one of the requirements that Amazon is saying for creation of virtual bundles is that they expect there will be a discount for the customers. So there's a perceived value as well. Like the shopper or the buyer is feeling that they're getting a good deal on a bundle. Plus, you don't need new inventory, you don't need new items. You only kind of create new items with existing inventory. It's important to note is that Amazon fees are applied separately on all of the components of the bundle. So it will be as if the customer has separately ordered each of the ASINs that are part of the entire bundle, which is a problem. But I'd say this, a pro tip, and we have this with a few of our existing clients in Flowin, when they're using bundles or virtual bundles as kind of an experimentation field for future physical bundles or for future products, where they bundle a lot of products. They see what sticks in terms of demand, of customer interest, and in future seasons or in next season where this product or this bundle is relevant, they will turn those into physical bundles, reduce the fees applied, and will increase the actual profit on the bundle. So, like I said, this creates a new ASIN, has a lot of new SEO service, but on the other hand, there's 0 reviews and kind of trust of the specific item may be low. Although the PDP of the bundle, it gives you the different components and the link to those components, and also the rankings of the bundle components. So it's not as dramatic as this sound. Now, bundles may ship in multiple packages, which is a concern, especially around gifting, because if you want to create this experience package, this giftable collection of items, you want them to arrive at the same time. Now, we'll address that a little bit later into how to overcome this issue, but I'd say beforehand, when planning the bundles, I would make sure that the inventory is available at the same fulfillment centers. But what's the game plan, okay? Like, how do you actually use bundles for your holiday season? First of all, identify the anchors. So you can take pick all of your inventory, and it's for most of the sellers, I think they have this already gut feeling about their inventory, and they don't really need to go into data, but look into what are your top items that have the best margin, that have enough stock, even with the uplift, with the sales to cover that, and that had good conversion in the past around Q4. Then those are your anchors, those are your leaders, right? But then what do you want to attach to them? So one thing, or the first thing I would check is, what do buyers often co-purchase? Now, there's a wonderful report, the market basket analysis report. It gives you the answer, okay? Whether it's your brand or your competitors or other items that people are often buying together, will give you an idea of how people perceive the value of your item and what's a good combination to supplement it, right? Another thing is, think about the kind of the experience that you're trying to sell, right? This is a morning ritual set, or this is a spa experience for a couple, and so on. And think about what are the pairings that would create this experience with the anchors. And the last thing I'd say you should think about as complementary, but it's not really relevant for the holidays. Those are the sales laggers, right? What are the items that are lying in the FBA, collecting storage fees, and are not selling through fast enough? That's an opportunity to kind of get rid of old inventory. Now you have your anchors, you have your attachments. Now think about, like, okay, which 6, like maximum 6, I would like to launch first and see how it goes. And the way I would approach it is making sure I have enough stock or enough inventory, and we'll talk about why that's important. That the margin is there, and that the customer will be interested in the combination of the items. Now you need to build the bundle itself. So in order to launch a bundle, you need to have basically a new listing. So in order to create it, you will need at least a new main image, where the requirements for Amazon for the main image are very similar to a standard main image, but it has to show all of the components of the bundle, meaning all of the items that you have in the bundle side by side or together, right? The rest of the images, you can use a collection of the images coming from the bundle components products, right? So that's not a problem, but the main image is always a challenge when you need to kind of show them on the white background without any text, without kind of logos and so on, all of the required, all of Amazon's requirements. Now you need 2 types of titles, short and long title. You need bullet points and you need descriptions, where it's important to note that both for the title and for the first bullet point, Amazon requires a different language, or there's a different set of requirements for them than an ordinary listing. That for the title, you need to write that the word bundle has to be there, and it has to have what is the main component bundled with, what are the other components, and then you can start kind of adding all of the giftable keywords, all of the main benefits and so on, kind of to drive more traffic to SEO. Right? The first bullet or the first feature point should also just list what are the items in the bundle. That's Amazon requirements, and it's important that you don't screw it up because they can suppress that listing. The next thing is the pricing. Well, you need to make it so Amazon requires you to give a discount, but you also want to make the customer feel like they're getting a good deal. That's why the margins were very important there as to into the selection of the specific items that go into the bundle. But you need to give something a 10 to 15% discount on the bundled items. In terms of the keyword selection, I know Miranda is going to talk a lot about which keywords are working for the holiday season, but you need to infuse not only your kind of main drivers or main drivers of traffic for these items, but also gifting and holiday related keywords. I would also add this may ship separately note because of the chance that the items will be shipped from different fulfillment centers, thus coming in different with different packages or in different occasion, which may kind of cause some stress with your buyer, with your customer, and that's an opportunity to reduce returns. What to look out? There's a few pitfalls to look out in bundles. The first thing I would look out for is inventory coverage when selecting the items to bundle. When one of the components of the bundles dies, the whole bundles is irrelevant. The whole bundle will be taken off the marketplace. Meaning that if you have, I don't know, a bundle of 3 or 4 items, and this small supplementary item that you thought it's not really important, but you added it anyway, and now it's out of stock, your whole bundle strategy falls here. Another thing is, margin erosion. So because you're giving a discount and because the fees are doubled for the items, or the fees are applied on the items separately, I'd be careful with additional coupons and promos that you apply on bundles. The cannibalization of hero SKUs, this is something that concerns a lot of sellers, saying, oh, wait, I want to sell through my hero SKUs. What's going to happen when people are going to buy the bundles and not the hero, and my profit will go to hell. Basically, I'd say this: the majority of the discount shouldn't come from your hero SKUs. The majority of the discount should come from the other bundled items that you want to sell through with your hero item. We talked about the components shipping separately, which could be an option, and also just losing sight of your catalog. There's a temptation, and I have a few clients that do this, to bundle everything with everything and just let the customer decide. What you are creating is new SKUs for your shop. You're creating more complexity in planning for those SKUs and their components. So don't add too much complexity. Just choose 6 items, launch them. If it sticks, if it works well, add more, but don't go crazy and bundle everything with everything. Compliance is very important. Just like an irregular ASIN or just like a regular listing, your bundle is subject to compliance reviews. So make sure that you don't have any medical claims and that you don't use restricted keywords, and your compliance requirements are the same for bundles as for regular SKUs. So this is a generation of bundles. It's obviously it's a challenge. because you need to write new listings. And we're talking about, oh, just create six new listings, which is, it's hard by itself, but you also need to create new listing items, hero images and so on. So here comes my shameless plug of how our tool Flow and AI, which is an automated listing management tool, can help you. And it's as simple as selecting items from your catalog, just adding them into the bundle combination, and we'll take it from here, including generating keyword research, generating compliant listings. And you can add any comments you want, and we'll also even generate a hero image for you. So everything is just 3 clicks away, and you're ready for your holiday season. Thanks, Vincenzo.
Yeah, thank you, Arkady. I appreciate that. Yeah, I think virtual bundles, if you ask me, like such a underutilized opportunity, like especially for you guys that have pros that can be easily be sold together. It's such an easy way to, first of all, get more value out of your customers. But the other thing that, of course, Arkady was mentioning is how you can cross-sell each other. And then these bundles will even appear on the product details pages. Now it appears a bit smaller, but still it's a great opportunity for you to let people know that, if you want to buy my variation with this other variation, these other offers, like I give you a better deal, and you'll be surprised how many people sometimes will go down with our route. So Arkady, thank you so much for that. That was very insightful.
Just a little
Awesome.
note on the last thing. Sorry, Vincenzo. It's a funny thing, but Amazon is playing around with the PDP all the time. They
I
just
know.
removed this. They removed this item that it's bundled with. So
I know that's what I mentioned. Is sometimes coming back or not. So be mindful of that. But regardless of that, is definitely a good opportunity for you to leverage your current inventory, especially if you have a SKU that's kind of dead and you have a bestseller. Why not bundle together and kind of give that as an add bonus? So thank you, appreciate that.
Thank you.
Awesome. So now we're going to Carly. How you doing? I think you're good.
Yeah, sorry. Doing good. Thank you, everybody. Thanks, Vincenzo. Really great tips. If you guys do all of this stuff, you'll be so set for Q4s. There's a lot of really good info here. So I'm really excited to wrap this up and hopefully continue to offer as much value as everybody else. So I'm going to be talking about, sorry, you can't see those boxes there, right? We're good. Okay.
We can see a presentation in there.
Perfect. So I'm going to be talking about gifting keywords. Everybody thinks, should I put gift keywords in my PPC campaigns to prepare for Q4 or Black Friday, Christmas, etc.? Should you do that or not? And I'm going to tell you the answer to that. So who am I? I'm Carly McMillen, co-founder of PPC Farm. We've been selling on Amazon for over a decade. We're still selling on Amazon today. We've got a dozen different brands that we sell under. And we also have the agency, PPC Farm, where we run, like I said at the top, profit first advertising. So optimizing for profitability in your advertising, not just optimizing for vanity metrics. So that's what we do. And without further ado, let's talk about gifts. So Q4 is a huge opportunity, but it is really, really easy to waste spend, especially on these broad gifting keywords. We see big spikes every single year, people looking for gifts for him, gifts for her, gifts for mom, dad, etc. And a lot of people get shiny object syndrome and go chase that shiny object, trying to win some of that seasonal traffic and boost revenue during Q4. However, I think that this is kind of a myth that you should go after gifting keywords for easy Q4 sales, because those gifting keywords are typically high cost per click. They're very expensive. They're very high search volume, but high cost per click, low conversion, which I'm going to talk about in a minute, why the conversion is so low. when people are searching for this kind like gifts for him, which we'll go look at the search in a moment, they're kind of just in research mode. And that's why you're getting those lower conversions. Like I said, expensive, competitive, not so easy to grab those sales as people think. So why is it, what's wrong? Why shouldn't we maybe target these gift keywords? Like I said, cost per clicks are really high, low buying intent, and poor relevance. When people are searching for gifts for him, for example, they're very much at the awareness stage of the funnel. So for example, if we come here and look at gifts for him on Amazon right now, even Amazon doesn't really know what to show you. They're like, do you want a bracelet? Does him like whiskey? Do you want to buy him some Lederhosen? Like Amazon doesn't even know what they should be displaying in this search. And unless your product is clearly a gifting type of a product, it probably doesn't make sense. Like honestly, if you sell Lederhosen, I don't know if this is the right term for you. Just because the buyer is really just in that awareness, maybe consideration stage where they're like, I know I needed a gift for him, but I don't really know what that is yet. And so they're just shopping around, they're clicking around. You're going to get a lot of clicks, but you're going to have low conversion rate. So, let's see. Instead, most holiday shoppers, when they're further down that funnel in the conversion stage, they're not typing gift. They're typing the specific product name. So for example, water bottle for dad. So I've already looked around. I've already decided, I know my dad needs a new water bottle. So I'm going to type water bottle for dad. And that is a lot more specific, a lot more relevant, a lot more long tail, and further down the marketing funnel where you're going to get better conversions. And you're still you're targeting gifting related, like it is a gift for dad, but you're not going so broad that it's almost irrelevant to your product. Some other examples here, like funny coffee mug. Okay, so I know that dad already wants a funny coffee mug. I'm going to specifically look for that. Or my cousin's really into gaming, so I want to get him a gaming headset. I'm going to go look for gaming headset, right? So rather than going after those really, really broad gifts for him, gifts for her, etc., it tends to be much, much better to go for kind of the normal keywords that always work throughout the year for your product. So I'm going to show you an example. One of the products that we sell ourselves as a seller is a gag gift. It's a stocking stuffer, funny prank kind of a product. And these go crazy during Q4. Everybody's got office parties or whatever where they're trying to bring the funny gift with them and be the funniest person in the room, right? So even though they are really popular during this season, actually, lifetime gag gift, this broad, search of just, I want a gag gift in general, has only delivered 29 sales across the lifetime of the product. This is over multiple years of selling this product. So this includes multiple Q4s. Whereas these, which I've blurred out here because they would clearly give away what this goofy product is, sell much, much, much better throughout the year and even during Q4. So yes, we do sell some on gag gift, and yes, we do target that, but still the majority of sales are coming from further down the funnel where you have the highly relevant terms that are actually what that product is. So just an example there. Oh, sorry. My little clicking is not working great. So what can you do to try to find something that is maybe more relevant during Q4, maybe more relevant during this holiday shopping season, but it's not those really broad gifting related keywords. So what you can do essentially is run discovery campaigns, what we call farming campaigns, or what a lot of folks call discovery campaigns during Q4, or really whenever your peak seasonality is for that product. Some products peak in the summer, but if your product is peaking in Q4, run discovery campaigns during that time because you'll naturally find what customers are searching for in the search bar when they purchase your product. So it's really the same game plan you would use throughout the year, but just making sure that you're running those discovery campaigns during Q4 so you can pick up whatever they're searching for during that peak season for you. And in your keywords, let's say you're running a broad campaign, that's where you can target maybe some of those higher volume gifts for him if you want to try it. That's where you could target those in those discovery campaigns. And then, as always, harvest what works, harvest what converts, harvest what has good performance, good ACOS. And then you'll start to get a bank of keywords that will convert year over year during your peak holiday season. So a little bit of a long game, but that is really the best strategy for finding what works for your specific product. And it's not so different as what you should do throughout the year in terms of just running good PPC. Okay, so like I said, what you should be doing is running those discovery campaigns. You still have time to set up, just go set up a broad campaign, run auto campaigns, whatever discovery looks like in your strategy. You definitely still have time to go and do that now. However, if you don't have that harvesting structure or you don't have automation or something in place to help you with harvesting from your discovery campaigns, super simple manual way to look at that is just go pull last year's search term reports, which I hope you downloaded them, because if you didn't, Amazon does not store that data for you. So whatever data you can from last year, go pull them, look for any high intent seasonal terms. So let's say they're like, it's water bottle for dad, water bottle gift for dad, something like that, more long tail. Look for those high intent seasonal terms. And if you have other product modifiers, like I said, so could be stocking stuffer, could be something like that. And then you can harvest them essentially manually into your exact campaigns. Okay, now I think a lot of people will ask the question, do I need separate campaigns for gifting related keywords? Do I need to create separate campaigns just for Q4 or just for my peak season? So my answer to this is typically no. You don't need to have separate campaigns for gifting keywords, because the search volume in July for Christmas stocking stuffer just isn't there, and you're more than likely not going to have issues with performance during the off season. Now, if that's not the case for you and you have seen poor performance on your keywords in the off season, sure, you can separate them out into their own campaigns so that you have more control and are able to pause them when it's off season. But generally, it's okay to mix them into your existing campaigns. You don't necessarily need completely separate campaigns for these. And like I said, sometimes those keywords they're just good keywords for your product regardless, and they will convert at other times throughout the year, not just during your Q4. So what you should watch for off season is really the same metrics you watch for throughout the year. So what's conversion rate like versus the account average on those seasonal terms? ACOS are you at a profitable ACOS based on your margins? And then of course impression share cost per click. You should judge it like any other keyword, even if it's gifting related, and watch your spend on data. So basically, the myth of trying to go after gifting terms just blindly and trying to appear on gifts for him is not necessarily a great strategy for you unless you have a product that is clearly a gift, or maybe like Arkady was talking about, if you have virtual bundles, that kind of thing, where you're specifically targeting it as a gift, marketing it as a gift. Otherwise, focus on terms that are relevant to your product, and they probably will be relevant throughout the year. Those are the high intent seasonal keywords, and go ahead and capture any data that you can, even starting now with those discovery campaigns, to make sure that you are crushing the rest of your Q4. So that's pretty much it. I am actually running a survey right now for Amazon sellers and service providers, just to get a pulse on what's happening in the Amazon world. And it would be amazing if you would participate in this survey. It takes about 5 minutes. It's free. And if you do, you'll be among the first to receive the data. And yeah, if you want to learn more about the agency, it's ppcfarm.com. And that's it for me.
Awesome. Thank you, Carly. I appreciate that. Thank you so much. So I think, what you just mentioned around seasonality, just to make emphasis on that as well, is super, super important, because which is something I didn't touch on. If you don't make sure your keywords are prepared for things such as Christmas, even now Halloween, for example, if you're not making sure you're captivating the extra seasonality, it's a lot of money you're leaving on the table, because people naturally during those periods are going to put that keyword embedded on whatever they're going to shop. So if you don't do that, sometimes it's much lower CPC that you can go for in terms of instead of the generic one. and it can help significantly. So thank you for those insights. I appreciate it. Awesome. So we have actually two questions here. I'm gonna pop one of them on the screen, and as we answer some of them, I remind everybody on the webinar, please now we're gonna jump into Q&A. So feel free to ask anything. It could be related to the presentations. It could be related to any issues you're going for. So feel free to, we're not gonna judge you. It could be as basic or as advanced as you want. So feel free to start dropping them. Okay. So we have one question here actually from Ramon. So I'm gonna put it here. Let me see if I can put it on the screen. Well, it doesn't allow me to put on the screen, but I think Andrew, this is regarding DSP. I don't know if you can see that on the questions. Can you see that?
I gotcha. Yeah. So
Yeah.
Ramon asked, what's the most effective way to segment Q4 Amazon customers before retargeting them with DSP ads to drive them back to our website? So if you're talking about segmenting them from off Amazon, I guess it would be dependent on the platform. You could do that through a Google Pixel and literally just kind of segment them through an audience that way. If you're using an ESP, using like Klaviyo or OmniSend or MailChimp or whatever, however they acted on your website. So if they did click on Buy with Prime or anything like that, or honestly, what we used to do before Buy with Prime existed, we used to just create like a fake like available on Amazon button and just let them go straight to the listing. So we would track that button and segment them that way. So you could create a segment in your ESP of just like, this is everyone that showed an interest in Amazon. Other ways to do it would be if you have driven traffic to Amazon before and you're able to segment those audiences. So, for example, we've got some brands that will send Amazon traffic from their emails to Amazon. And so basically anyone that clicked, I can assume has some type of interest in Amazon. And so you can tag them and develop a segment that way. So it depends on obviously the platform you're using, but that's usually the best way to start to segment them from an off Amazon perspective.
Awesome, Andrea. So hopefully that answered the question, Ramon. So we have another one here regarding bundles. I guess it's mainly related to, you mentioned a bit on compliance, Arkady, but it has to do with also returns, because I'm guessing you need to be also mindful of with which pro you bundle the product and how returns work. So I don't know if you want to double down, explain a bit more on that as well.
So regarding the compliance, you treat it as any other listing. All of Amazon's terms of service regarding listing compliance are applied here as well, with, as I mentioned, additional requirements which you can find on Seller Central. I wouldn't rely, if you have some sort of like a custom GPT, or if you're using AI that wasn't purpose built for this, for bundles specifically, I wouldn't rely on this. From my experience, the recent models, both the GPT, Gemini, those are the ones that I've been testing, are not really aware of specific requirements for bundles. So test them or review them yourselves, or use a purpose-built software for that. Regarding returns, yes, like it's one of the considerations in bundling, right? You don't want to bundle together a high return item with your hero ASIN. That said, a customer can return only one of the component of the bundle, and will be will be reimbursed for rata. Yeah, but you wanna avoid that as much as possible. All of the fees are still there. All of the costs that are associated with the return. So, like I said, there may be specific disappointment that can come with regards to, wait a second, I bought it as a gift to be to be gifted together, all of the items, but I only received them one at a time, piecemeal. So in order to avoid that, I would kind of add that specific wording to one of the bullet points. That said, when planning the specific bundles, just look where your inventory or where fulfillment center your inventory is located, and you'll avoid those things as well.
Awesome. Thank you, Arkady. Appreciate that. We have here another question that has to do with allocating budget for seasonality with affecting profitability. I think this has to do more with Carly, which you were just talking about that. I guess, what is your take on that about testing seasonal keywords without kind of burning all the cash on that?
Yeah, absolutely. I think if your product, if you're unsure if your product could be seasonal, or if you're unsure if it will perform particularly well during the Q4 season, like if it's not clearly a Christmas item or something like that and you're unsure, maybe something around like 5 to 10% of your overall budget for PPC would be ideal to test something out if you are just testing.
Awesome. That's good. Thank you. Cool. We have another question from Michael. Hi, Michael. How you doing? Recognize your name there. So it says it has to do with bundles as well. So maybe Arkady, you also want to take this one. Has to do with virtual bundles and the quantity in terms of how many products you can do, 2, 4, 6 of the same product versus 2 in terms of the discounting structure. I don't know if you can see the question there.
So the bundles are, you can bundle any quantity of products from 2 to 5. So it's 2, 3, and 5.
I guess the question is if you can
you
bundles
bundle
of
the
your
same
own product.
Yeah. So
to get them a
they
bundle
will-
discount in terms of quantity, I guess. Yeah.
they will let you do that, but I'm not sure how viable this listing is going to be. That's what I would say.
Yeah.
Like it's technically possible through Seller Central, but like it's not intended for that. It's not intended for kind of bulk
the same skill.
discounts. Yeah. It's not intended for that. So I wouldn't do that for kind of bulk discounting the items. What we are seeing a lot is people are using different variation. So you can use different variation of the say of let's say of the same parent SKU. Parent license, and that, in terms of, especially in specific categories like clothing, where you have different colors or so, this works really well.
Cool. Yeah, I think for that, what I can also say, Michael, it would be maybe sometimes better to use the promotions in terms of buy 2 and get 10% or get 1 free or things like that, because as Arkady mentioned, sometimes doing bundles on the same product, also from a visibility point of view, you might divert the traffic out of the listing, which is the main listing at the end of the day, and you might not want to do that because of reviews and all of that as well. So
good point.
Cool. So awesome. We have another one. I think this one would be for you, Fabricio. It's more around like, what is kind of the impact in terms of either deciding running out of stock or deciding slowing on ads, like, and I guess a lot of what you guys do with the software helps with that. So any insights when it comes to that?
Yeah, sure. So first, Amazon has an outsized punishment for running out of stock. Think of Amazon as they have the customer, and you are kind of piggybacking on them to sell to their customers. So whenever their customer has a bad experience, they're going to punish you, and they're going to give benefits to the people who didn't give the customer a bad experience. So there is an outsized punishment for stockouts versus increasing price. But the most important thing at the seller's point of view is that, let's imagine you have 100 units and you're selling 100 units and using ads and keeping the price, where it is, and you're making, X in profit. Now let's assume that, and then you're running out of stock during a period. So now let's assume that you get the same 100 units and you spread it across the time that you will be out of stock by increasing the price or reducing advertising. That will have a direct impact on margin. Every single cent that you gain goes straight to your margin. So you're going to sell the same 100 units with a much higher margin and not be punished as badly as if you were out of stock by Amazon. So in my opinion, it's a no-brainer, and I see that working with most of our customers that do that.
Awesome. Thank you. Appreciate that. And I think we have time for one last question. Welcome, Ramon. Thank you. From Usman, he's asking, what are your thoughts regarding the rising percentage of add to cart drop off, even when stable CTR and CVR? So I can actually quickly answer on that as well. I mean, when you usually see a situation where you have consistent conversion click to rate and people landing on the listing add to cart, but the add to cart doesn't improve or decreases, usually has to do with the nature of the product. There's certain products that have the nature of window shopping and do that a lot, and a lot of us do that. Like we add a lot of product to the cart, and then you will make the decision. So most likely, what is happening there is that you're losing when comparing to other products. So most of the time has to do with pricing. Most of the time has to do with a feature you not mentioned on the title. Sometimes it could be even the main image when comparing to the other products people put on the cart. So a good exercise I do for this is try to put your main competitors on your cart and actually ask your question, the honest question. Are you actually, will you choose yours or the competition or not, right? And if the answer is no, and sometimes it's no, most likely you need to work on the offer. So hopefully that answer the question. Okay. Awesome, guys. I think that brings us to the last question of the webinar. I mean, we're pretty much on the clock here. So it was great. We got some insightful questions and answers as well. So I appreciate that. I would like to conclude by thanking all our speakers today. I think you guys brought a significant amount of value. I think for everybody that is watching now live and all of those that are going to watch the recording are going to get a lot of insights from all of you. So it's been a pleasure to have you here on the show. From my side and on behalf of Ecomcy, as the host of today's webinar, I also thank you guys for being here, and also all the attendees. Feel free to, as we send you then the follow-up with the email, and in terms of the recording, feel free to reach out to all the speakers. They can add a lot of value to your business, and I'm sure if you implement a lot of the things you learned today, you can have an amazing Q4. So other than that, I say bye to you guys. Keep smashing it, and see you in the next one. Thank you so much for being here, guys. Thank you.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Okay, guys.
Good luck, everybody.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye. Bye.